Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Ackman, and this is Yvette Stephanie with the Utah Safety Council. Thank you for joining us today on our podcast, Speaking Up for Safety, funded by the Utah Labor Commission. Today, we're thrilled to have Tami Olsen, founder of Young Caring for Our Young Foundation. Tami, can you tell us about the inspiration behind starting the foundation?
Yes, and actually I'm not the founder. I would love to take credit for it because it's such a powerful thing, but it was actually established by Spencer Young Sr. and his wife Sherry back in 2007. And really their inspiration was they saw a need in the community, and part of our core values as an organization of the Young Automotive Group is to engage and support and to give back. So we believe it's more than just a one-way street where we sell cars, we fix cars, we do all of those things. It's that if we're going to be in a community, we need to be part of it and make a difference. And so that was their inspiration back in 2007. And then it's just exploded in our reach. So really exciting stuff.
Nice.
So how did you get involved in it then?
So I feel like I won the lottery on career opportunities. I joined the group several years ago. I've been with them 19 years and done a variety of things from continuous improvement to HR, all of those things. But we were at a point as an organization where we wanted the foundation to grow. Many of our stores were giving back, but it wasn't through a central repository, kind of an organized approach to giving. And so it was just an opportunity that presented itself. It fell in line with what I believe is important and what I love. And so it was just a great fit that I could run the foundation. And then I also oversee recruiting, which again is a fun thing because I get to tell this great story about our organization. But that's how I got involved. We started, it was relatively conservative the first year or two. I think we donated, I don't know, maybe $150,000 to $180,000 the first year. And today we're at over $1 million each year.
Wow.
So it has grown. But again, that's as a result of a cohesive organization that believes in giving back, and then amazing partners that catch the vision and want to make a difference. So it's fun. It's such rewarding work. Like I say, I won the lottery. I have the best job.
Speaking of best job, so what is your favorite part of the job then? What is your favorite?
Oh, there are so many, but I think first and foremost that we're making a difference, that we see tangible results. When we are making donations, when we're developing these events, we know that the direct result is that kids are getting clothed, kids are being fed, kids are being educated, that we're eliminating those barriers to learning so that they can thrive ultimately. So that is obviously first and foremost the significant thing, but it's also seeing that our volunteers become champions for the cause. We're about more than writing a check. We will rarely just write a check for a cause. We engage in that cause. And so if we're going to support teen homelessness initiatives, we're going to involve our employees in the community in putting together backpacks for those drop-in centers. And so seeing how people's hearts are changing and they're learning about hunger in their communities and they're learning about homelessness, because so many of us drive to and from our jobs, to our beautiful homes, to our pantries that are stocked chock full of food, and we have no idea that there are hungry children that leave school on a Friday and don't have food for the weekend. We don't accept that there are homeless teenagers in our community today. In Davis County today, for example, over 1,600 kids woke up in less than safe and secure housing. They were couch surfing or they were sleeping in a car. That is gut-wrenching, but that is a reality in Davis County. And so I love being able to see people's hearts change and their minds are enriched, and they are now champions for fighting hunger, addressing teen homelessness, and that sort of thing. So it's all good.
Yeah,
Very
that's really
rewarding.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some of the success stories that you've had or impactful moments?
Yes.
With the foundation?
So one that comes to mind is through our KIND Fund, which it stands for Kids in Need, and it's developed around addressing needs in classrooms where an educator identifies a child that's wearing the same clothes day in and day out, or they don't have snow boots or a coat. Well, they submit a request through the KIND Fund app. We take that request and we match it with a volunteer. We give the volunteer $150. They shop for that child based on the request. Wow. And then they deliver the clothes back to the educator. So the educator has the opportunity to give them to the child to form a stronger relationship with the child and their family. But one example of how that really changed lives is we had an educator submit a request for Dominic. We call him lovingly our kind, fun kid, and he loves sharing his story. But he was a 17-year-old student who the educator said he wears the same clothes day in and day out. He doesn't have boots and a coat, and he actually walks 3 miles to and from his job every day at a pizza place, and he works 6 days a week. If you could help him, we'd really appreciate it. Well, that obviously was a gut-wrenching request to read, and so we asked permission to contact him. And so we reached out and said, how else can we help you? And so we helped him with bus passes. We actually got him an interview with one of our dealerships. Our general manager interviewed him on a Sunday morning because it was the only day Dominic wasn't working.
Wow.
And we hired him, and now he leads our team of lot techs at one of our dealerships. He has a job, he has a car, he has an apartment. The trajectory of his life has radically changed because an educator cared enough to submit the request. And we, fortunately, had a program that could address those needs. And so that's obviously a profound example, but they are as simple as, two brothers are sharing the same pair of shoes. And so they're missing school every other day. And being able to provide shoes and clothing for those two brothers so that they can come to school each day and be prepared to learn is significant. But there are thousands of examples of that, literally. And that's the privilege of having this kind of a mission.
Yeah. So when you get those requests from educators, do you have to reach out to the parents prior, or is it something that you just do with the educator itself and then they give it to the child?
That's a great question. We rely on the educators to coordinate with the parents.
Okay.
We want to protect a student and a family's right to privacy. So we don't know who those students are. We trust our educators to identify those children. And so when they submit the request, they submit it with a tracking number that they've developed. So they know who tracking number 375 belongs to. But the educator reaches out to the parents and addresses those needs, and then is able to say, they wear a size 10 and they have sensory issues, so they can't have tags. They love pink or they despise pink or whatever it is. And so those requests then are more tailored to that child so that when the volunteer shops, they're armed with the information that they need to be able to get that child the appropriate clothing. And then the educator gets to give the clothes to the child, which we think, if you picture a classroom and you picture children that are struggling to learn because they're hungry or they have, they don't have proper clothing or whatever, they're sometimes the hardest kids to teach in a classroom. And maybe they're the hardest to love and they need it the most. And so we think if an educator can form a relationship with that child and with their family, it just enhances the learning experience overall, because our goal is to eliminate barriers to education. We want kids to thrive in that learning situation because that's how we will eliminate or break the cycle of poverty, is so they thrive. So it's very much about the educator connecting with the family on those needs. So.
And building that relationship. And then they build the relationship with the family as well. And it may open up more opportunities,
That's right. Well, and we had an example where an educator didn't realize there was a need in the family because sometimes we do a great job of pretending that we have everything together and we don't need any help and we're dialed in and we live at in a certain zip code. And so obviously there's no need there. We had an educator who had a child fall on the playground and tear his pants. And he was so traumatized by that. And she was puzzled because she felt like this family had resources. Everything was fine. But as she dove a little deeper, she realized actually the family is struggling. They've gone through a separation. The mom is now a single parent and she's at risk of losing her job. And so clothing actually was a significant barrier for that family, even though the educator didn't know it. So digging a little deeper, asking questions, she realized this family needs a myriad of resources, not just clothing, but maybe they need food. They need a referral to the local food pantry and they need pantry packs. And maybe that school supply list we gave them is daunting. And so maybe we need some help there. And as it turned out, there was also a need for some mental health counseling to kind of bolster that family who's going through some trauma. And so it allowed the educator to dive deeper and really address multiple issues well beyond clothing, which is really a perfect example of how a great program can work.
Right.
So how do you go out and speak to schools in Davis County then, and then you give them the information and then they
Yes.
reach out?
So we're actually, the Kind Fund exists, and the Kind Fund is just one of our programs, one of our initiatives, because we focus on hunger, we focus on teen homelessness, on literacy, and then on clothing. But the Kind Fund is actually in 5 or 6 different districts right now, and we'll be adding 5 additional districts in the fall. So our goal is to take that program actually statewide. But the way we make a connection with the districts is we usually will work with their education foundations, depending on the strength and breadth of their reach in their districts, or we'll meet with the administrators or the school counselors. We've presented to, principals. We've presented to superintendents. We've presented to foundations and to counseling groups to kind of spread the word and let them know that this is a resource that's available and there's really no strings attached. It is too good to be true. Nope, it's legitimately this good, and there's no expense to the education system. In fact, when we donate money and we clothe those kids, it allows them to use their resources in other areas. The Kind Fund I think we've donated, it's $670,000 so far over a 2-year period of time. So if you think about the reach that has and clothing 4,200 kids already, that the schools don't have to address clothing needs for, it allows those schools to now augment their counseling programs and augment their school supply programs and those other important components. So reaching those educators and letting them know what's available is really how we approach each area and how we get into those districts and really make a difference. And again, they're the ones that know the need. I mean, I think that's the thing that's daunting for most people when they try to take on an initiative, because everybody wants to do good and we just don't know how sometimes, or we don't know where the need is. And what we said is we aren't experts at this, but the education system is. And so what we're going to do is form relationships with education, because they're our trusted partners. They know where the needs are and they can get the services to those most in need. And so that's the way we've approached it. And it's working really, really well, statewide. And our goal is to hopefully take the Kind Fund literally throughout the rest of the state and then expand it in Idaho and Montana, which are where we have current dealerships, which is a really nice way to give back to those communities. So
that would be wonderful
yeah.
if you could get it that would be amazing.
Yes.
Nationwide.
And our app actually will allow us to do that. It's now, we've literally developed the app. It used to be a hard copy of a request that we print out, we put in an envelope, we give it to the volunteer with their gift card, and then they check their items off on a paper like your old grocery list. Okay. But today, an educator jumps on the Kind Fund app, fills out the request, and a volunteer jumps on the app, and that request is matched to them. Oh, wow. So they can shop from the app, cross off the items that they've bought in the app, and then take a picture of their receipt, click that they've shopped, click that they've delivered it to the school. The school gets a notification that the clothes are waiting for them. I mean, it's really been a game changer. So the Kind Fund allows us to scale the program and could literally allow us to take it nationwide, which is, we've got some things in the works for actually expanding it across the United States. So it's fun stuff. Yeah. It's really exciting.
You do a lot of work with schools. What other organizations do you guys do work with?
That's a great question. With? So we try to partner in our own community with those other service providers. So an example here locally would be domestic violence is a cause that one of our stores chose as their initiative. And so we have coordinated with Safe Harbor to kind of help support their programs. And in fact, we had a very robust event here at our headquarters where we assembled 30 bunk beds and equipped 14 of their apartments with tables, chairs, cookware, just a myriad of things. But that was an initiative that one of our dealerships brought to us and said, we're passionate about this. We had an employee who personally had experienced some situations like that. And so we developed a program around that. Another example would be the teen homelessness initiatives. And so we work with our teen drop-in centers that are funded through our education system to provide backpacks for those children. The YCC and Your Community Connection, another great resource. Or suicide prevention, because one of our stores chose suicide as one of their focal points, and really helping educate the community on how suicide affects everyone. And it's not just based on your economic situation or a certain geographic area, it's across the board. And so we formed partnerships with service providers that specialize in that regard. And we tied in with the medical profession and the mental health world from that standpoint. And then we developed a really robust event around suicide prevention. So it's driven by need that we identify. It's driven by what our dealerships are passionate about. Because if they're going to help us fund it, we want it to be something that matters to them,
Right.
Yeah.
and that their employees can get behind. Because again, the key to our success is that we're engaging people, and that it's not just let's just write a check. Well, suicide is bad. Let's just write a check
Yeah.
to suicide prevention. No, let's educate the community on the resources that are available. And so let's have a big resource fair, and really get people to connect, because we think that, well, and we know when you've captured their heart and when you've educated them on the need, they are changed. You'll never view hunger the same once you realize there are, 1 in 6 kids go home to an empty pantry. Like,
Mhm.
how is that okay? So we engage them in putting together pantry packs, which then they start realizing, I'm putting together meals for a child for a weekend, and it literally costs less than $5 to feed a child for a weekend.
Wow.
So for $5, what you spent on your, cappuccino and treat this morning, or less than what a movie ticket costs, you could feed a child for an entire weekend. That's powerful, and you'll never look at food the same way, right?
Funny.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. And then we try to involve the community and our partners and their families in that cause as well. Because teenagers that complain there are no snacks in our pantry, that then participate in putting together pantry packs, view things a little differently, right?
Yeah.
And a child that is shopping for another child, and they realize, I have a $150 budget, and this person needs socks, shoes, a coat, underwear, long pants, long sleeve shirts, and yet they're complaining because they don't have the newest and greatest pair of jeans or shoes. They view things a little differently, and maybe they're a little more appreciative and a little more sensitive to the children in their classrooms that are in need. So that's kind of the approach that we take.
Wonderful.
I-
You had mentioned earlier that with one of the students that you helped out, you uncovered there were some mental health issues.
Mhm.
So I
Right.
know that you provide assistance for like clothing and homelessness.
Mhm.
What do you guys provide then if you do find that?
So we are not specialists in the mental
Okay.
health world. We do a lot of things really well, but that is not our forte. And so that is when we coordinate with their school counselors, and when we look at partnering with those other mental health providers who are specialists in that area. Again, we don't need to replace a service that exists in the community. We just need to pull people together so that we're utilizing resources, intelligently. But that is an area that I see us expanding in as we move forward, even with the Kind Fund. Because if you think about an educator identifying needs for clothing, the other component on that would be they identify this child would benefit from dental care, from
Mhm.
mental health, or maybe there are some issues in the family or medical care. Well, if that's a central repository, and then a notification could go out to partners that provide free dental care or partners that provide mental health counseling, and then they can coordinate with that educator, that's really a more holistic approach to eliminating those barriers to learning, because it's not just clothing now, it's not just food, it's actually the medical side of things as well. So that's on the horizon. That's a big goal, and it's all encompassing, but that's where we'd love to see the Kind Fund grow and really be kind of a central repository for needs assessment, and then coordinate with all of the experts in the community that provide those services. So lofty, but it will happen.
Yeah. No, and if it does, and when it does,
Yeah.
that'll be great because yeah.
Yeah. It's already, I laugh and call it Kind Fund magic, because if you would have told me 2 years ago when we developed the Kind Fund that we would have served 4,200 children and donated, more than $670,000, I would have just giggled and then said, that's idiotic optimism, right? Because our goal was to serve 100 kids the first year, and we served 1,200. But it is crazy when you're doing the right things and you engage people in your cause. People are good, and they
They are.
want to give back, and they want to make a difference. And it just creates this big ripple of love and good, and it grows. And so I think if you can talk about it and engage people in your cause, there's really no limit to what you can do as far as making changes. And that's what we're about. That's our focus, is we just want to make a difference. We want to make things better. We have a responsibility. And I think all business models should have that component in it, where you not only provide a widget or a product or whatever, but you make your community better and your employees are better. And they in turn go home and they're better parents. And, again, a big ripple of good.
Yep.
So
Butterfly effect.
yes,
One little
absolutely.
change can just, like
Magnified.
Dominic.
Yes, yes, exactly. And he's thriving, and he is such a great kid. And obviously we saw his work ethic. I mean, a child that will walk 3 miles to work, 3 miles back, 6 days a week. I mean, that's the employee you want, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
sure.
I mean, it was obviously a win for us as well, but it was so meaningful to be able to literally change his life because a teacher cared enough to tell us his story.
Yeah.
So,
if there are people out there that want to get more involved,
mhm.
do you just accept donations? How do they get more
all
involved?
of the above. So
Okay.
we would love their donations. You can choose your cause. When you donate to Young Caring for Our Young, you choose, is it hunger? Is it clothing? Is it literacy? Is it teen homelessness? And then our commitment is obviously your donation goes directly to those causes. But we would love them to be involved in the cause as well. And that's why we have over 60 events that we do each year, because we want our donors, our partners, to be a part of making a difference. And so, our diaper derby that's coming up, it's a diaper bag derby where we put together 200 bags filled with diapers and wipes and onesies and binkies and blankets for young parents across the Wasatch Front. Well, we would love their donations, but we would also love them to come help us assemble those.
Mm-hmm.
And it is messy and chaotic, but it is powerful, because at the end we have 200 backpacks filled with really nice things that will help a young parent starting out. Same example with pantry packs. We're going to do 15,000 pantry packs in August, and those are the weekend meal kits that sustain a child from Friday through Monday. But we're going to do 15,000 of those. Well, we need a lot of help putting those together. And we'll have 4 different locations set up with different items, because different pantries and school districts have different items that go into their packs. But we would love the community to come out and volunteer at those events. And you can bring your children. I mean, we have kids as young as 3 years old helping assemble those packs, which is so sweet to see them take their job so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just building a kinder, gentler society. And we
For sure.
love that. So they can donate. They can jump on our website, thinkcaring.org, and choose their cause. They will be able to see the events that are coming up and the locations, so they can be involved in that. But we love their money, but we love their hearts as well. So it's kind of all encompassing.
So if somebody can't, donate, they can just donate time.
Absolutely.
It sounds like time is just as
Absolutely.
important as money.
It is. And if you think about the Kind Fund, not everybody can afford $150 to shop for a child, but you can usually carve out an hour to an hour and a half to shop and deliver clothes to a school. And so that's why we wanted to eliminate that. Well, I want to help, I just don't know how. Well, let us show you.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteer to be a Kind Fund shopper, and you can decide how often you want to shop and what area you want to shop for, and then we will match you with that request. And once they get started and they see it, then a lot of our volunteers will sign up again. They'll say, I want to shop monthly. And so the app just notifies them, hey, we have a child in need. Do you want to shop for them? So it's pretty slick in that regard.
That app sounds pretty amazing.
We
Like,
love
it's
it.
seamless. Like
Yes.
you just
right after.
Well, and it's not perfect. If any of you have ever developed an app, it's quite a learning experience. And it's so much more complicated than I realized. I'm like, well, you just do this and then the back end magically makes it happen, right? It's Kind Fund magic. Well, not with the app. But the app is a game changer, and it is really allowing us to expand and to scale up on services. And if you're a person that's comfortable having an app on your phone, you can shop for the Kind Fund. And if you're an educator that's comfortable with submitting a request online, which is a safe, secure site, you can submit requests through the Kind Fund. So yeah, it's been a learning process for us. Our app went live in February. And so we've learned along the way, but it's really been the key to being able to expand and to serve 4,200 kids already. So
And
It's
if you're wanting
amazing.
to stretch across the state, the
Oh,
app
yes.
will make it a lot easier to do that.
Absolutely, because getting hard copies of things to someone in St. George or in the Nebo School District in Salem, right? How do you do that when you're based here?
Yeah.
And it's been easy for us in a lot of regards when we've had dealerships in those locations, but we don't have dealerships across the state yet, right? And so the app has really been the key to being able to do that.
That's interesting. What surprised you the most about your foundation since you started this, or since you started?
I think the need, because I've
Mhm.
always been involved, and even my past career path, I was very aware of the social needs and that sort of thing. But to be in the throes of it and to see the severity of need in very affluent communities was really enlightening. And then just the goodness of people. And I'm an optimist. I always believe that people are good and well intended, but I'm overwhelmed with the generosity of people and just the overall goodness. People want to do the right thing. We just have to give them the map
Yeah.
and give them the opportunity. And so it's really been a privilege to be able to be in that role because people are good. We're surrounded by
I
good.
agree with that. Yeah. They just
Yeah.
need help to find out what to do, where to go. And yeah.
That's right. And that's the thing I think, and that's the key for business as well. Because as I said earlier, businesses want to do good. They want to make a difference. They just don't know how. Or they think, but I don't have my own foundation, or I don't have, a coordinator that can do this. You don't have to. You don't, it doesn't have to be this big. Start small. Identify what you're passionate about and what your employees care about. Start small. And then it will create that big ripple of good, and you'll see it expand and your reach will increase. So
And you mentioned the diaper derby.
Yes.
Can you tell us some more events that are coming up in the next couple of months?
So Diaper Derby is coming up. That's in July. That's on July 17th, and that'll be here at our headquarters building. We have our pantry pack event that are coming up in August, and that will be the 13th through the 17th of August at various locations. So it'll be at our Power Sports location in Centerville. America First is one of our significant, most profound partners in that event. So we'll do 5,000 packs at America First. And then we will be determining this week which location in Ogden we'll be doing it at, and then our Toyota Honda dealerships in Logan. So those are coming up. That's exciting. We'll have Julie's Clothes for Kids, which is a clothing event in Burley. That's in August, where we'll in one day shop for 250 kids for school clothes. And that's really a fun event in that it was patterned after the Davis School District's Child Spree, where years ago we used to shop with the child at a local store and buy them clothes for the year. And because of the requirement of background checks and the logistics of getting children there, they've gone away with that. And now it's a video of that child telling us about their needs and that sort of thing. Well, in Burley, they still want to shop with kids. And so parents will bring their child with their list of clothing, and we'll have 250 volunteers that will shop with that child at Walmart at 6:30 in the morning and get them equipped for the school year. So that's really a fun event. And the Burley community comes out in full force to support that. We'll have our Stuff the Bus event in September with Kia, where we literally fill a school bus with school supplies for the Head Start program. We'll have a backpack drive where we'll be equipping backpacks filled with school supplies as part of that event. And then we'll be doing hygiene kits with one of our other really significant partners, Mountain America Credit Union, where we'll be doing thousands of hygiene kits, which are, they're actually utilized in a lot of our community centers, but at our teen drop-in centers. So they include shampoo, conditioner, body wash, soap, washcloth, a comb, brush, things like that. The basic things in a Ziploc bag that a person experiencing homelessness or a child experiencing homelessness would need to maintain some sense of dignity. Those teen drop-in centers are really a vital resource in the community because children can go in there, they can shower, they can do their laundry, that sort of thing. But in the absence of that, what do you do? And again, it's about dignity. And so those hygiene kits will be really, really important for us as well. So that's kind of a snapshot of what we've got going. We'll be doing our first responder truck giveaway in July, which we give an Ogden City firefighter or a police officer every other year the use of a truck for a year to honor them and support them. There are just a myriad of things going on. So I think the best option is for folks to jump on our website or to reach out to me, and I can send them a calendar of events. But we would love the community to get behind and get engaged in these events. It's a lot of fun.
So that was just a snapshot into your events.
Just a snapshot.
But earlier you were talking to
Yes.
Yvette and I. Can you tell us about how many events you hold within a year, though?
Yes. So we have, today we have calendared, I think, 67 different events. On average, we'll do 60 conservatively. And those range from, like I say, our Hope event, which is suicide prevention, to Stuff the Bus, to Julie's Clothes for Kids, to our Cast a Spell on Hunger event that takes place at our Mazda dealership. That is really a magical event, literally, where we involve the Children's Treehouse Museum in Ogden, and they bring a magician, and they bring their cast of crew members that create kind of a magic kingdom theme, where there's a little Harry Potter entered in there, where they can play Quidditch, and they can drink butterbeer, and they can take a picture on a broom, and crazy things like that. But all of our staff dress up like witches and wizards, and we love it. It's so fun. But it's a food drive, where we fill Gaylords full of food that are then, the items are then donated to Catholic Community Services and Bountiful Food Pantry, the Box Elder Food Pantry, that sort of thing. So it's just, that's their theme, Cast a Spell on Hunger. Kids come and they make wands and spell books, and it's a ton of fun. But that's another example of, some other fun things we do. We'll have trunk or treats at our various locations, which those events are obviously kids come lined up for hours to get candy, which is a crazy concept. But with each of those events, we donate a substantial amount of money back to the education foundations in those communities. So kids bring in their coloring contests, and for every coloring contest that they bring in, we donate $5 to their local foundation. And then our homeless teen backpack event, which is coming up in October, where we'll put together 400 backpacks filled with essentials for those kids experiencing homelessness. So they'll include sweats and a hoodie and beanies and gloves and blankets and hygiene kits. And so that assembly event is really meaningful. And those then will be distributed among the teen drop-in centers throughout our community. But there's just a ton. There's a ton going on. Lots of opportunities.
Ever rest? Do you ever have a day of rest?
So no, but the great thing is we don't even need it, because when you do this for a living, that's your joy, right? I mean, I think, our employees are so engaged and so happy because they're serving, that it really, I mean, obviously we're a little tired and we get a little run down, but it's impossible to be unhappy when you're making such a profound difference. And that's where we feel like, if you're struggling emotionally, you're having a bad day, you need to serve. Mm-hmm. And you need an awareness of what the need is, because it's impossible to be sad when you're putting together backpacks. It's impossible to be sad when you're putting together diaper bags, right? So we're like, it's good for your mental health. Come help us. Okay. Help us help kids, and your mental health will improve, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a
lot
win-win.
of fun. Yes, it really is. It is. It's great stuff.
I'm curious, with all the events, do you see a rise in number of volunteers? And if so, what age group? I'm just curious.
That's very interesting. So it ebbs and flows. Obviously, during the holidays, everyone wants a service project. And what we're trying to do is encourage them to give year round and to be involved year round. And so we do see an increase that's seasonal. But it's also, we've taken that on as our responsibility to create events that they want to be a part of in August, in September, in March, right? That's why our Cast a Spell event is typically in January through March, depending on, schedules. And so as far as the age of our volunteers, it varies. Like I say, we have 3-year-olds coming as part of a family unit that put together pantry packs. Our Kind Fund shopping, they involve their entire families. And so it's literally, I would say, from 3 to 90, right? And we have an employee who literally brings her sweet mom to shop for the Kind Fund. And that's what they do as far as their time together is, one example of it. That's not the only time they're together, but literally there's no age barrier at all, no age limit. I mean, if they can pay attention to a task, they can be involved and volunteer. And if they care about giving back, regardless of physically how capable they are, they can be involved, because you can shop for the Kind Fund regardless of your age, right? If you're 90, you can still shop. So
Fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's meaningful work. So
Something else that you guys do is help young mothers.
yes.
What does that entail?
So our derby is a big thing there. And then supporting our teen drop-in centers, because there are sadly some situations where when a young mom is expecting, there have been some family dynamics that have contributed to that. And so they may experience homelessness. And so they would be a recipient of some services at the teen drop-in centers that we support financially, and then through our backpack events. And then that for young mothers, that's essentially it, or through the Kind Fund. So if there's a need for clothing for them, we had a request come through a couple of months ago where we have a 16-year-old that needs maternity clothes. And so our Kind Fund volunteers shopped for maternity clothes for a 16-year-old. So that would be a way. And then through our pantry pack program, of course, helping them with that. So, and then hygiene kits. I mean, really, there aren't a lot of things that we do that don't have some applicability to the need for a young parent.
For the hygiene kits,
Mhm.
would you be open to donating first aid kits? Is that something that you
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know what? And this is the fun thing is, as you do these things, people come to us and say, what about this? You know, this is actually a really significant need in the community. But if you think about first aid kits, that will be a low priority item for a family struggling financially, and yet it's critical that they have. And so we would love to be able to do an assembly event around safety. And so we would involve you in telling us what needs to go in the basic kit, what's required, and then we would hopefully be able to get some partners to help donate money to cover the expense, and then assemble them and then distribute them accordingly. But that's a great way to really enhance safety throughout the community. That's great. Great idea. Love it. We'll have to write that down. Right. Yay. We love the Safety Council.
We love to hear about your success stories. Now,
Uh-huh.
I'm just curious to hear of a struggle that you have for your foundation, or is there a story that you have where you struggled and you overcame that?
Well, I think the struggle is having adequate funding to meet the need. Because how do you go back once you know about the need, right?
Yeah.
There's no denying. We see hunger in our community. We see homelessness. And so our big challenge is just that we can continue to get donations to support those events, like 15,000 pantry packs, like, 1,000 hygiene kits, because it's very expensive. And so those would be our challenges. As far as other challenges, it's really just being able to, you can't serve everyone. And so the sadness is having to say no in order to say yes. And so we've tried to narrow our focus around those 4 primary areas: hunger, literacy, homelessness, and clothing. But there are massive needs beyond that. And so that would be, I think, the most heartbreaking thing is we have to say no, because we can't serve everyone's needs. And again, we're one entity. But the great thing is, even when we say no, we can often match that request with another entity in the community. And so it's rare that we just say, no, we're sorry, we can't help you. It's usually, we can't help you because it falls outside the scope of our services, but these entities might be able to, so reach out, and here's their contact information. So that's what we try to do. We don't always do that perfectly, because there are sometimes we're like, I don't know where to send you. But gosh, good luck.
Yeah.
And can I invite you to participate in some of our causes, which might be nice, and then you could help promote your cause, right? So
Okay.
So with donating to a family, are
Uh-huh.
there income restrictions? Like, do they have to fall within an income base, or that doesn't matter if the child is hungry, needs
So-
food, clothing?
we rely on our education partners and on our medical professionals, on the experts in the area to identify those needs, and they police that.
Okay.
We don't want to police that, nor do we feel like we should, because we don't want access to their sensitive information. We want to be the service provider, but we trust our education partners to tell us this child is in need. Now, as far as validating that, we generate reports on a monthly basis back to our education partners on the children that we've served based on those tracking numbers. And then they validate to make sure that their coordinators are not duplicating services or aware, oh, this family already has clothing, so let's do something different and let's help them with medical or food or whatever. But we don't police that. We're not professionals in that regard. That's not our forte. There are lots of people who are, though, and we have great relationships with them to make sure that the services go where they need to go. Yeah, it is. And that's about relationships. It literally is just about being a trusted partner and building those relationships, and then honoring your commitment that you're the specialist. I'm going to trust you to do this. And it's worked really well. That's really the key to us expanding as well, is developing those new relationships, because we haven't been in Provo, and we'll be in Provo this year with the Kind Fund, but meeting individuals who care in that community and service providers who care in that community, and the same with the Salem, Nebo School District. We find those partners that are already providing great services, and we develop relationships with them, because then it's mutually beneficial. They trust us, we trust them. We know that the services are going to the kids that are most in need.
So with these packs that you do,
Mm-hmm.
do you already know like who's coming? So you know a number that you have to make, or is it just kind of like, we're doing this event, send, and then once we're out, we're out?
We buy the food in advance.
Okay.
It would be a beautiful model that we could just say, hey, we need this many cups of mac and cheese, and we need this many granola bars, and we need this fruit snacks and whatever, and that magically you would get that. But you don't. And when you run a food drive, you get unique items. When you say, these are the only things we can accept, and then they're like, yeah, but you probably want to take this.
Yeah.
And so what we've said is, we love that you want to donate food. And if you want to, then we encourage you to donate food to the local food pantry. But what we would really like is for you to donate money so that we can buy 60,000 mac and cheese cups and 40,000 granola bars. And then we set up those events based on, we're going to assemble these kits that go to the Davis School District. So these are the items that need to go in that. These go to the Ogden School District and Weber School District. These items go in that. And so we order the food in advance, have it delivered, set it up. So then that assembly line,
It's just quick.
it is. But it takes a lot of money. I mean, if you think still, it's less than $5 per pantry pack, but we're going to be doing 15,000 just in 1 week. It's a lot of money, right? But the
That
great
puts it
thing
into
is,
perspective, like,
I know.
how many
Well,
kids-
and it's crazy because, you know, if you think the need is so profound, and 15,000 pantry packs in Davis, the Davis district, they issue 3,500 a week.
Oh.
And so while we are feeling so proud to do 15,000, that is a drop in the bucket with what
Yeah.
they will need over the course of a year when you think it's 100,000 plus. But people are good, and people identify the need and see the need and donate, and it works. But our assembly events are a ton of fun to be a part of. It looks like literally just pallets and pallets of food, and it's mayhem with cardboard boxes. But it is crazy how pristine these kits are at the end of every line. We have quality control, and they're beautifully packed, and they hold, you know, enough meals to sustain a child for a weekend. So
and by buying it in bulk, you're probably able to provide more as well.
We are. Yes, we are. We can get better pricing that way. And it is truly bulk by definition. It's a crazy number of granola bars and fruit snacks and pudding cups and mac and cheese. And yeah, it's just wild, you know, but it's very meaningful work, and our employees love it. They just love it. So
Have you had instances where someone who received your donation came up to you, know who you are, and would thank you or show gratitude?
I love that. Yes. So we were doing pantry packs at one of our local dealerships. And if you imagine what, 15 pallets of food looks like, and all of these tables set up and hundreds of volunteers. And we had a customer of ours walk in, and she saw pantry packs. I saw her walk in, and she immediately started to cry. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry that this is sad. And she's like, no, I'm just humbled. I didn't realize you guys did pantry packs. And she said, my children, these sustain us on the weekends. And I shared this story at our gala recently, but it was really emotional. I know.
No, it's
She said, our kids come home on a Friday, and she said that stocks our pantry for the weekend. But she said they come home, we unload the food into our pantry, so it feels like some semblance of normalcy. And she said, the notes that you put in are so important. And she said, I don't know if you realize the importance of these little love notes. And we call them kindness notes, but they're words of affirmation. Like, you matter, your ideas are great,
That's really
you're
nice.
loved.
Wonderful.
And she said, we take those notes and we put them on our refrigerator. And she said, when my kids are struggling and they're having a bad day, we just go to the fridge and we're reading those notes of affirmation. And she took it further to say, my father suffers from Alzheimer's. And she said, he's wheelchair bound and is non-communicative now. But she said, there are times where we will find him in front of our refrigerator reading those notes.
Oh my.
And so I think we will forever include those in our packs. But it was so powerful. And the timing was crazy because we were doing the math on the expense of these packs and to print 15,000 notes or to order 15,000 cards. And I'm like, that would buy more granola bars. And it was so perfect that she told me that, because I'm like, they will always include those. We will never, ever, ever not include a kindness note in those packs. So we hear from people who are direct recipients. We get thank you notes from parents whose children are clothed now. We get notes of gratitude from our educators who say, as an educator, my heart breaks seeing children in need, and yet you've allowed me the luxury of being able to provide clothing for these children. And because I can't pay for it myself, because most times our educators do. If you think they see a need and they lack school supplies or they lack something, our educators are taking it from their pockets, which they can't afford. And so to be that resource where they know I'm not alone, people value me as an educator, they understand the situation and they value our kids and they're trying to make a difference. So we luckily get to hear those stories as well. And there are literally thousands of stories where we know lives are changed. And we don't necessarily solicit that, but there are times where they literally reach out to us and just say, thank you. You know, thank you for helping us help kids. And that's our motto, help us help kids.
Yeah.
That's all we want to do. Help us help kids.
Yeah. I love the notes because I've worked in education before, and sometimes those kids come to school and they don't hear kind words.
Yeah. And they've left a challenging situation. And you understand, I mean, there's a lot that goes into a family dynamic when you're struggling and you're dealing with financial struggles and your kids are hungry and they need clothes and you can't provide them. And you're maybe not always your best parent version of yourself because you're trying to keep the wheels on respectively. And so to be that bright spot of joy and to provide an educator with the opportunity to know that we're addressing those needs is really, really meaningful.
Yes. Oh, man. Do you
Just
get a
made
lot
my
of tears
day.
then? Like,
I'm so
because
glad.
Yvette
Yay.
and I, we cry at things like,
Oh,
you
I'm
know,
such
but
a
do you
crier,
get,
yes.
is there times where you get rooms of tears or you just see that
Absolutely.
kid's face because he lights
Oh.
up because he got that granola bar?
Absolutely. I had an educator reach out to me. It's probably been 6 months. And she said, Tami, how's your day going? And I said, well, it's great. And she said, do you want me to make your day even more? And I said, absolutely. She said, I just had a little person twirl into my classroom in her new dress and her new shoes that the Kind Fund provided for her. And she said, you
that
don't
made her
get to
world.
see that, but I do. And I wanted you to know that what you're doing matters. And I thought, I'm immediately reaching out to the volunteer to say, you nailed it. Like what you bought for this child literally made her day, but she was twirling into the classroom to show off her dress and her shiny new shoes. So yes. And, you know, I can't talk about what we do without getting emotional. And I used to try to apologize for it. And there were bets. I mean, there are still bets. Every time will she cry? It's $100. And then I say, that's fine as long as you're donating to the foundation.
Yeah, there you go.
Donate your $100.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being emotional. This is an emotional job. It is. We are tugging on people's heartstrings for a reason, and we're changing lives. And so I'm not going to apologize for crying. I'm not a cute crier. I do wish I was a cuter crier, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff. So
Do you ever get notes from the kids?
do you know, it's interesting because for our Julie's Clothes for Kids event, we actually encourage the children to write a thank you note to the volunteer because it's a really important component in, I think, being a good citizen in the community to show gratitude. And so that's part of the process is we have coloring tables set up where their notes and all they just need to do, like they color them. The words are already on there, but then the parents can be involved and handwrite notes of gratitude too. And then we get those back to the volunteers. Because we think that showing gratitude is also it's an important thing, but it's also a really positive, uplifting experience as well. I mean, you've experienced this. You can't be crabby when you're writing notes of gratitude, right?
never.
So if you're
No.
feeling bad, sit down and like write in your gratitude journal or write some thank you notes. Your heart is going to change. And so we want to share that message with our parents and with the children that we serve up there as well. So that's an important part of what we do.
You mentioned volunteers.
Yes.
How many volunteers do you currently have, and how important are they to the foundation?
Well, they're critical because we won't be able to put 15,000 pantry packs together without hundreds of volunteers. We couldn't have shot for 4,200 kids through the Kind Fund without 4,200 volunteer opportunities. And so we have thousands of volunteers that engage in these causes, and it varies. You know, some are passionate about homelessness, some are passionate about clothing or whatever. But volunteers are critical to our success. And even if I had staff that could do all of this, I would still want the community to be involved because we are changing lives and changing hearts. And we want you to be a champion for the cause, not just put together a pantry pack and leave. You're not going to be the same after having done this. And we want to change your heart and increase that ripple of good. So they're critical. We couldn't do it without volunteers.
With that being said, our viewers, where can they go to volunteer or sign up or look
Great.
at your events?
So thinkcaring.org. You can jump on there. If you're curious about the Kind Fund, click on the Kind Fund. There are a couple of videos that will walk you through that process. Download the Kind Fund app. It's on Google Play and the App Store. And it's the Kind Fund app, and it has a big blue heart that says Be Kind. So that's a great way to do it. Then check our website for the events that are coming up. And they're posted as far as times, and then they're open events. You can just show up. You don't have to register as a volunteer to come and put pantry packs together. We've tried that in the past, but we don't want to limit it. And we will always have enough work for people. I've rarely been barraged by more volunteers than I had work for. And at a 5,000 event or a 2,500 pack event, I can use help across the board. So jump on our website, thinkcaring.org, and you can email us at thinkcaring at, or gosh, I'm forgetting my email address. Brain cramp. I only have about 70 of them. But on our website, it has our email addresses as well, and reach out to me personally or to our team. So
I just have
great.
one last question for you. You had mentioned that volunteers, can they pick what they volunteer
Absolutely.
for
Yes.
their passion?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where looking at our variety of activities that are available, choose your event and come. And then we'll eventually move to a robust volunteer portal. We switched websites, and so we're rebuilding that right now. But that will be a great opportunity where you say, my passion is suicide prevention. How do I get involved? And then they become a part of that mailing list for our Hope Squad event. So that's coming. In the meantime, you can email us if you're interested in a cause, and we will guide you in that direction as well. So
Tami, recently you were named one of 30 women in business. Can you tell us about that?
So I am blown away by that award, actually, to sit in the room of the 30 women to watch in Utah and be surrounded by the caliber of talent in that room was amazing. And the powerful thing is that over 400 people were nominated, which means there are businesses throughout this community that have exceptional women in their organizations that they want to spotlight. And that's the tip of the iceberg. I think we're so fortunate to have such a robust workforce of women who are engaged in making a difference and inspiring other women and individuals to thrive in our community. So it's a crazy, overwhelming honor, and I'm still blown away. And I laughed and thought, at any point they're going to say, "We're so sorry, but this was a mistake." Like, we don't want to embarrass you, but we don't. You didn't win. And yet we made it through the luncheon, and they gave me my award, and they didn't take it back. So, but it's easy to be great at things that you love. And so that's what I would hope, is that it becomes somewhat of an inspiration to people. Choose your love, choose your passion, do something that you love. You'll be good at it, and it will create that big ripple of good. So funny that you would bring that up, but thank you. And again, just really flattered and honored. And you don't get that kind of an award without tremendous support from your peers, and having the opportunity to work for an organization that cares about making a difference and provides great service and all of those things. So it's certainly an award to be celebrated by everyone that's touched my life. It's not about me. It's about the collective good. So
No, that's wonderful. Something we do at the Utah Safety Council is we have an organization called Women in Safety. And I don't know if you know, but only 27% of the safety employees are women. And so every year we get nominations for an outstanding woman in safety or health. And we meet as a committee and go over those nominations and decide who gets that. And we have a ceremony at the end of the year. Some things that we do with women in safety is, one of our things is community outreach. And we do have our annual award ceremony coming up, where we will be collecting school supplies and those pantry packs so that we can donate to, children in need as well.
Yes.
But
that's fantastic. And I love that. And that's a statistic that we need to change, because when women are more than 50% of the workforce, they should be 50% of your safety professionals, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yes.
And it should be represented across the board. Plus, I think, the things that we can accomplish together as men and women working on a common cause, we both have our strengths. We both have our weaknesses, and we can fill those voids with each other. But I love the diversity, and we need to change that. So let's take that on as a cause, right?
Yeah, we're going to. Right, Yvette? We're going to. And
yes.
For sure. Like
Yes.
right now.
I know, and we should.
We know you have a very busy year, but we would love to invite you over to our Women in Safety ceremony and our event. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
So yes, I would love the information, and I would love to share that among our group, and let the employees of the Young Automotive Group know about it as well. I think the more that we can share each other's message, the better it will be. So that would be great. Thank you.
yes.
Any questions
I
for
don't have any more questions.
No comments? for
No,
your
just thank you.
foundation?
I'm so flattered that you would want to know more about what we're trying to do. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share the message, and to just really ring home the point that we can all make a difference, large or small, like lots of small things added together equal big results. And so I think everyone has a responsibility to give back in the community. And I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to talk about what we're doing and the difference we're making. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. And with that being said, remember to stay safe at home, at your job, or if you're out and about enjoying yourself. Thanks for visiting us on today's episode, guys.
Thank you.